8:05 and I've just put my tent up at this cliff top spot. It's 9:20 now. I've had my meal. It's 4:40 on Friday morning now. So this morning I've got Weybourne and then the very last one over there. It's 10:30 AM and I'm at Weybourne pillbox. It's my penultimate one. There you go, if I zoom in, you can see it's a circular one in quite good condition. So you come along the coastal road through the village of Weybourne and then you take this right hand turning down into this military collection. And it's got the usual sort of tanks and guns, but there's a V1 flying bomb back there. I've never seen one of those. So you can see it's just along the coast. This is MOD land by the look of it, private property. I'm not going any further than this. I'm going to put the poppy there, I think. There's my poppy with the pillbox behind. I was by the gate, I saw a car coming along and I thought I'd better move out the way. And as he came to, I sort of said, oh, I'm just viewing the pillbox. And he sort of said, oh, he lives up in that caravan on the hillside. He runs a model flying club up there. And he sort of said, come through and wander along, take some pictures if you want. So I just went along there, had a really nice chat with him. He was telling me all the local history, interested in my trip. And he told me something really interesting, that in the Second World War and soon afterwards, they used to catapult tiger moths out over the coast and radio control them. I mean, what in effect we call a drone today, and then they'd use them as target practice and shoot them down in the sea. So yeah, just so nice hearing stories like that. He was telling me about all the emplacements along here. Not often you see a V1, is it? When in fact, as I said, this is the first one I've ever seen. I've turned off the main road, coastal road, which is over there on my right, and I'm on this really nice quiet road through these woods. About 7.5 miles to go until Stiffkey and the last pillbox. I know it's on some sand dunes, quite sunken down as well, in quite poor condition I believe. Just as I left the museum, there was a campsite there as well, by the way, which would have been ideal for me last night if I'd known about it. And it also had poppies on the board, which is really nice. I'm seeing poppies on so many signs. Even on the defibrillator there were some poppies. I'm going to try and think about charging my phone at some point. It's getting quite low. If I see a church, I'll probably dive in each one until I find a power point I can use. Just found this really nice church. There's even a memorial out there with some poppies, so I'm going to leave a poppy on there. Open all day, thankfully, and there's a plug socket in there. I'm just about to go and charge my phone and my power pack. I'm going to sit here, maybe even spend an hour here and just really chill out. All of my poppies at this wreath outside the church. 2 ladies came along, volunteers who maintain it and keep the flowers fresh and just basically make it a really nice church. They were showing me some graffiti, some medieval graffiti, where the local fishermen used to scratch pictures of their boats onto the pillars in there. It's what makes this church unique. So that was just a lovely encounter. I tried to take some pictures of it, so I'll put them up on screen now. It's 1:45 on Friday and I've just located my last pillboxes on these salt marshes at Stiffkey. Give you a quick 360 to give you an idea. See a strip of beach beyond, and then there's the sea. It seems really appropriate, this last one being right by the sea, because when I started, just after I got off the ferry, the Felixstowe ferry on Monday, the first one at Baldsey Beach, East Lane, that was by the sea. So I feel I've come full circle. It's felt like a bit of a pilgrimage. Some of them have been really easy to find, others really, really difficult. Really nice episode this morning. I was just winding up a bit of video at the penultimate pillbox, and the guy came along, opened the gate, told him what I was doing. He said, "Oh, come along and have a look if you want." So I went along, had a nice long chat with him, took some photos of it. Yeah, so I'll have to tot up the total that I've managed to find. I did 11 yesterday, so that was quite a long day. But anyway, I'm going to sit here and just sort of savour the moment. I just crawled down and went inside. It's in fairly good condition. There's a concrete roof. It's buzzing with flies in there. I put my poppy right in the middle there. Oh, it's blown across already, so how long that stays there, I don't know. My camera's getting so low on charge, so I'm going to wind this up here actually. The priority this afternoon is to find some meths for my burner, not for drinking, and give my phone another charge, and then I'll be looking for a campsite tonight. I saw a sign as I came along that coastal road saying Kings Lynn 30 miles. I think it's further than that via my route, but even so, it gives you an idea. I've got the rest of today, all of tomorrow and all of Sunday, so I can afford to linger quite a lot. Anyway, from here I'm just going to stay here a lot longer and just enjoy the shade and really soak it all up and sort of reflect on the trip so far. It's 6:30 on Friday afternoon now. Another church, another bit of charging, and again I found the collection box and put a couple of pounds in. Today's been all about resources really. I found a cafe this morning who was able to charge both my devices for 40 minutes while I just sat and had a coffee and a coke and just chilled out. Then after I visited the last pillbox, I rode into Wells on next sea, stocked up on lots of food there. I had a really nice picnic in the graveyard with some shade, then went to a co-op and got plenty of food and supplies. Managed to pick up some meths because I was getting very short of that for my camping burner. Then I also managed to get some tweezers to try and do a bit of emergency surgery on my sleeping mat, and then I just went and sat down by the harbour for most of the afternoon because I found a seat with the back to the shade because it was just overpoweringly hot. And I've got all day tomorrow and all day Sunday to get to Kings Lynn, so I'm in absolutely no hurry at all. So I stayed there till about 5 o'clock, and I'm just on the road along the coast now, and I'm in this little village with a church obviously, and it says there's a campsite nearby. I'm going to try and get to a campsite tonight and actually camp, and obviously have lots of water and have a shower as well. I really need to clean and maybe wash some clothes. It's supposed to be raining most of tomorrow. Whether that's heavy rain and it's all day remains to be seen, but at least with the campsite they don't normally kick you out until midday, so I can either leave early or leave late and just meander during the day, probably dive in a load of churches to stay dry. I don't know, I just take it as it comes. But yeah, it's been a fantastic day. It's 6:30 on Saturday morning now, and I'm at the Deepdale campsite at Burnham Deepdale. This is really good find actually. I'm not a huge fan of campsites, but I definitely needed a shower and to clean up clothes and everything. And it was full, but they actually found me a little corner in what they call their hammock area. You see they've got all like these old telegraph poles. It looks like they've sort of pounded into the ground, and they have hammock camping here. They have a small field here for camper vans. They got pods, they got rooms, they've got the caravans over there. Really well organised actually, and instead of just giving you like a sheet of paper with a plan of a map which you're unfamiliar with, and then you walk out the office and try and make sense of it, they walk you over and show you exactly where you got to go. The great thing is, I said any chance of charging my power pack? And she said, yeah, that's fine, we've got some lockers here. And it's like a cupboard full of like almost like mini lockers, key safe I suppose, and each little one has got a plug-in, and you put it in there, they lock it, they keep the key with the number, with your name, so whoever's on the desk the next morning knows who you are, and just charge it overnight. I said, like, how much is that? She said, there's no charge, it's voluntary, you make a contribution to our charity, you know, whatever you feel like, or if you don't feel like it. So I thought it was brilliant. I mean, that may be standard on campsites now, I just don't know, because I very rarely use campsites, but I thought, what a brilliant idea. So a fantastic campsite. The plan this morning is, because it's going to be raining for about 9-10 onwards, so I'm going to pack up early-ish and then just ride along the coast and keep going into the coast, you know, just chilling out, maybe finding some churches to sit in and shelter from. It's only 37 miles to Kings Lynn, so I've got 2 days to do that. So today's going to be a day of sheltering, whereas yesterday was a day of shade, and then hopefully a beach camp. Anyway, need to be quite quiet because it's still early. Got some hot water on for some coffee. For cooking on this trip, I bought just a small Trangia stove, this mess burner. I've managed to repair my airbed with a bit of an emergency surgery, so let me explain what happened and how I did it. The X-Ped sleeping mat and the pillow I had works on the dual valve system. This one is for inflation. You can see like there's a little green washer in there that just allows you to do minor adjustments. When I deflate it, which I'm going to do now, I just pull that one and all the air comes out. When I went to inflate this the other evening, and the first evening, when would it have been, Tuesday, that green washer wasn't there. It completely disappeared. And of course, if it's gone down inside, well, it couldn't have gone anywhere else. I'm never going to find it. So I slept a couple of nights on just a completely flat sleeping mat. And to be honest, it's quite uncomfortable. I'm a side sleeper, so my hips and my shoulders were getting really sore. What I decided to do was cut the equivalent valve, well, in fact that valve there, I cut that out of the X-Ped sleeping pillow, and I've just binned the pillow because I've never particularly been happy with the pillow. I love the sleeping mat, but I've never been that happy with the pillow. And I thought, I know it's a risk, so I took a chance. And then you can see there's that arm there, the grey arm has got a hole in it. I had to somehow get that valve inside and get that little stick, for want of a better expression, up through that hole. I could just about prise it through, but I couldn't grip the stick to put it right through. That's when I got the tweezers at Wells Next to Sea, and that night I did the job in 5 minutes. It went smooth. When I got home, I told my wife about this, and what we discovered was if you hold the sleep pad up to the light, we could actually see the little green valve inside, and we were able to sort of maneuver it down and then retract it from the deflation valve with tweezers and fingers. It took a couple of minutes to do it, so I've now got a spare one of those green valves. In a nutshell, I needn't have actually cut my pillow up, but I hadn't worked that out until I got home actually. So just as a word of advice to other people, if you ever have that problem on the road, you probably can recover the valve. Just take it out of that one and get it back into its place in there, but you probably will need tweezers or 2 people, one of the two. Because I was up early this morning and they told me the reception doesn't open till 9 AM, I just went back a few miles to the next village, Burnham Market I think it is, because as I passed last night I saw there was just like a little track down to a harbour area, and I thought I'll go back there and have a look. It'd be quite quiet on a Saturday morning. Well, it was absolutely heaving because there's a quadrathlon going on. There's a couple of the guys going by. And I said to the guy who was the steward, is this a traslin? He said, quadraslin. I said, I've never heard of that before. What's the fourth one? He said, so it's, I saw them coming out the water, the swimming, then they were doing running, this is a cycle, and then they kayak. It's just gone midday on Saturday now, and these are Thornham marshes. See this, the sea just beyond there, big wind farm out there. There's a building over there, I'm not sure whether that might be a small church, that's what I'm kind of heading for. I've got all weekend to cover 27 miles, so I'm absolutely in no rush whatsoever. I'm following the coastal road, which is just about half a mile that way, running parallel to coast. And every time there's a right hand turning, I'm just going down to see where it leads. I don't care if I get lost, to be honest, I've just got so much time in hand. And I've just come across this gem. There's this footpath along here, it clearly leads somewhere. I'm sort of heading to that to investigate if it is church or a little fisherman's hut. But I just came across this. I'm going to sit here for a few minutes and just really enjoy the moment. But there's this really nice shrine to somebody's beloved dog, and as a tribute, she used to love this area. Apparently they've left this box full of tennis balls for you to pick up and enjoy with your beloved dog on your walk. It says cherish every moment because there are never enough. Yeah, wise words. These marshes are absolutely superb. So I left that grassy footpath and headed over to what turned out to be a fishing hut. And then you walk along quite a good quality footpath, and I have been walking all the way along. It goes on this sort of like a raised embankment, like a dike, and there's a section of boardwalk as well. I suddenly realised I'm on the Norfolk coast path, and I've seen a couple of people I follow on YouTube avidly walk this and film it. I'm in the two distinct mind of Tom Outdoors and Simon Bloke in the Woods, so you know, following in their footsteps, two of my heroes. This is just fantastic. I don't really know where I'm heading for, but there's a house over there, there must be a road. All these people coming this way must have parked up somewhere and started somewhere, so we shall see. I was just thinking about a spot of lunch because I bought a sandwich earlier on. I came to this home bird observatory. That's actually not it. You actually go down the boardwalk and there's a hide on the riverbank. But it's just come on to rain. How fortunate is that for good timing. Soon after my little lunch stop in that shelter, the boardwalk turned into sand, and I thought, oh no, maybe this wasn't such a wise idea after all. Then almost instantly you get to a junction and you had an option to come down to this visitor centre and cafe, and then there's road access there. Oh gosh, look at those toilet pods. None of this is open actually. I'm not quite sure why I put on a Saturday, but anyway, this board is about Holmes Human Heritage. It says in 1998 two well preserved Bronze Age timber circles were discovered at Holmes Dunes. One remains buried beneath the sand and sea, but the other, which became known as Sea Henge, I've been seeing signs of that, was uncovered by strong tides, having been hidden for 4,000 years. Tree ring dating has shown the timbers used to build both circles were felled in the spring or summer of 2049 BC. The circle measures 21 feet in diameter and was made up of 55 closely fitted oak posts. About 3 PM now, and I just stopped in the bus shelter to dodge a bit of a shower. come down to the beach just as I enter Hunstanton. All these beach huts behind that. It's quite nice. Cafe there, golf course, lighthouse over there. Going to head in town, pick up some supplies, and then start trying to suss out somewhere to camp. About 4 p.m. on Saturday night, and I'm in the seaside resort of Hunstanton on the Norfolk coast. And I've just suddenly realised I've been here before. Me and Linda did a funny car driving tour once, and anyway, long story, but we ended up staying here on the Saturday night, and we just decided we wanted to stay here, and we looked everywhere for accommodation. In the end, we got the last place in a B&B, and I just suddenly remembered it on the screen, because I'd actually just ridden in from that direction, spent quite a long time up by the cenotaph, left my penultimate poppy up there. I've got one more for tomorrow. But just seeing this, suddenly realised it just all came flooding back. It's made me a little bit homesick, to be honest. I was thinking about Linda and times we had here. That's why I never go abroad these days, in case you've ever wondered. I can't stand more than about 4 or 5 days away from home. I really do struggle with homesickness these days. You sometimes say out in the videos, oh, I'm missing my darling wife, and you know, things like this is just really sort of brought it home to me, really. It's been a fantastic trip, and I'm still enjoying it. Don't get it wrong, it's not a sob story. It's just about 5 or 6 days. This is going to be what, 7. It's about the maximum I can manage these days. Just all family having fish and chips, so I'm really thinking about sitting here for a bit longer, maybe having fish and chips, and then not cooking in my tent tonight, going along the coast a few miles, and then not having to worry about cooking or anything like that, and just put the tent out where I fancy. From here it's about 15 miles to Kings Lynn, and I've got all day to do that tomorrow, so as you can gather, there's sort of no time pressure. Hello, good evening from Snedisham Beach. It's 7:20. I've just got my tent up. There's some dunes behind me, and you see there's this lovely view. The weather forecast today was supposed to be rain all day. There was only one shower where I had to dive in a bus shelter for about 20 minutes, that was all. It's been on and off in places, but I always take weather forecasts with a pinch of salt. I mean, nobody can predict the future 100%, can they? I mean, if they could, the Met Office car park would be full of Porsches and Lamborghinis, so I only take it as a rough guide. This is going to be my last wild camp tonight, so I've been doing one wild camp, one accommodation. So last night's accommodation was in an official campsite where I got showered, everything's really cleaned. Tomorrow night's going to be in Kings Lynn Travelodge just before my train home on Monday. I had a fantastic day actually. Spent quite a few hours on the marshes, I forget what they're called now, but that was fantastic, and I was really chuffed. I walked a bit of the Pedder's Way, it's a Roman road that I've got my eyes on, and I just walked around the shoreline. I mean, it is an official footpath, so I made sure I walked and pushed the bike, I didn't ride it. I loved that. And then I got into Hunstanton late afternoon. Got a bit chilly there actually, and I just decided I didn't want to cook tonight, so I just got sausage and chips there, sat on the seafront, had a chat with a lovely old couple. He's 87, she's from Morty, she didn't tell me their age, but you know, they just pull up in their camper van in the hotel car park and spend a couple of nights there. They were really lovely to talk to, I had so many good stories to tell. So yeah, this is my accommodation for now. Oh yeah, I bought some beach tent pegs, so I'm glad I did, because I wouldn't have got the tent up otherwise. You can see the yellow ones are beach pegs. The rest I've actually had to double steel peg, but it's up, it seems to be alright. There's rain forecast 8 o'clock, so I just wanted to be set up early tonight. Anyway, my last night wild camping, and this is my view. after me joking about the Met Office about half an hour ago. Bang on 8 p.m. as forecast, it started getting quite windy, and now the rain's come on. It's not particularly heavy, but there's the wind's behind it. It's sounding quite loud on the fly sheet. I've just got everything in, folded up the fly sheet, doubled it over. It's quite nice and cosy being in there. I'm so glad I had the sausages and chips on the seafront as well, so I don't have to try and cook in this, you know, leaning out the tent door. So yeah, just quite a nice cosy feeling being in here actually. You might see me light sort of moving about backwards and forwards. Something lovely about being in a tent here in rain, just literally, you know, millimetres the other side of that really, and thinking I'm so cosy and dry and warm in here. Hello, good morning. Lovely morning today, heat wave again. I'm heading into Kings Lynn, and I'm just sort of making it up as I go along really this morning. It's only 15 miles and I'm trying to avoid a busy A road, the A149, which is just over that way a bit. Last night I was teasing the Met Office really for getting their forecast wrong yesterday, and I think the Met Office god was quite displeased with me, because bang on 8 a.m. as forecast, the weather just became tempestuous. I'm so glad got my tent up early and I didn't have to cook either. But yeah, God, it blew a gale, really heavy rain. I was chatting to Linda on the phone and the signal kept breaking up. But it was really nice and cosy in there in my tent. I mean, I love that, just hunkering down when it's extreme conditions outside. There's something really primeval about knowing you're nice and warm and cosy and like 2 inches away through a couple of thin layers of nylon. You know, it's pretty extreme out there. Woke up to nice bright sunshine. I was sort of reflecting last night on the trip really. I don't want to get too philosophical, but I was sort of going to remember it through the 3 P's: pillboxes, poppies, which were unexpected, and people. I had to ask a lot of people help, you know, to locate some of the obscure pillboxes, and you know, because they'd lived around there, or their parents, grandparents, relatives, I got to hear anecdotes that you just don't hear or read about in all the, you know, when you do the research. I mean, for example, the one guy that let me through to have a look at the penultimate pillbox, he was telling me the army used to launch old swordfish aircraft and obsolete aircraft off a catapult into the sea, radio controlled. I guess these days we'd call them drones, wouldn't we? And so the gunners could practice shooting them down, and they did that through the end of the Second World War, right up to late 1940. So, you know, I heard lots of stories like that. This track I'm taking to avoid the busy A149, which is running left to right towards Kings Lynn. I just realised it's passing through the Sandringham estate. It's a permissive path, so public may walk this route. Well, once again, just by following my nose, I stumbled upon a gem. To avoid the busy A149, my Garmin sort of had me going parallel to it. I had to override that at one stage because there was a private road, so I did a bit of the 149, then turned down that track where I did the last update. And then I followed what looked like a quite defined track, and eventually came to my GPS track. That's great, I'm back on course. And then that tried to take me through the Sandringham estate, and it said, you know, private, no entry. And I just thought, I'm not going to trespass. I'm certainly not going to trespass on royal land. I'll end up in the Tower of London. So I sort of followed my nose, and I've come along here, and it's clearly sort of like a nature reserve. And I thought, great, there's going to be a car park. I'll just head for the car park and get back on tarmac. And I've just come across this bird hide. I'll walk you inside and show you the view. It's pretty amazing. Luckily I got some directions off a couple in that bird hide, really friendly. Just told me to carry on round here. It goes all the way around the lake. Oh look, there's a sea over there. Gosh, I didn't realise I was so close to the sea. Go all the way around the lake. As I said, you can't really miss it. Well, considering I'm lost, I'm actually quite enjoying myself. This is really, really nice. I'm now in this really lovely village of Wolferton. I'm trying to avoid riding on the busy A149, but I'm not having much luck actually. I just keep ending up back on it. But this is the old railway station. How's that for a railway station? I'll go around the front and give you a better view. There's the signal box, Winterton box. Looks like it could have been used yesterday. Or there's even a little bit of track still on the ground level crossings. And look at that, wow. So we're very close to Sandringham Estate here, so I guess that station was closed during the cuts of Mr. Beecham, PhD. Anyway, back to my lunch spot out there on the green. After trying to avoid the A149 all morning and sort of failing quite miserably, to be honest, I've just decided to get on it and just go into Kings Lynn on it, and immediately I came across this Sunshine's route, which is doing exactly what I've been trying to do all morning. I've just left my final poppy on this wreath of poppies. It's in the last village before Kings Lynn. I just suddenly just a thought struck me, just leave it here, because you've been sort of like edging, skirting around the Sandringham Estate all morning, and I think I may even still be on it or close to it. And it just suddenly, a memory just suddenly flashed in my mind, and it was, I saw this recreation, historical recreation. It's starring David Jason, the famous comedy actor, and it was based on a true story where there was these PALS battalion in the First World War, you know, to encourage people to join the voluntary army. And the members of the Sandringham Estate were in a regiment, and David Jason was one of their commanders, and they got sent to Gallipoli, and you know, they all got killed, and it finished off. It was quite a haunting scene actually, where David Jason saw his you know, comrades being sort of basically just shot in the head, and he sort of said, no, please, no, not this, you know, these are prisoners of war, and of course they executed him as well. That left quite a deep impression on me, and I don't know, just suddenly I just, yeah, left the last one here. For the first time on my ride today, I'm actually on track, and it's 4 miles to go. Well, I've made it. Kings Lynn Travelodge. It's been a fantastic trip up the coast actually. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. I've enjoyed sticking to the route and really trying to find detailed locations. In the last few days I've just really enjoyed just basically making it up as I go along. I'm now in the Travelodge room, as you can see, nicely showered and shaved and refreshed and just chilling out. I've just been totting up the pillbox totals. So I said at the beginning that the Norfolk Council, who produced the trail leaflet, suggested there were 24, and I thought there could possibly be 26 after, you know, doing quite a bit of research, but there are in fact 24. So let me try to explain. When I started delving into how to actually find them, I came across the South Suffolk Heritage website, and it was there that I read up about Bawdsey Beach. That was the first location I went to, where there was that circular pillbox next to the big rectangular Second World War emplacement right opposite it. And then a few hundred yards along the beach, this website, the Suffolk Heritage website, suggested there was Bawdsey Beach pillbox there, and there was, but that was dated 2014, and it said at the time soon to be lost to the sea. Well, I believe it has been lost to the sea because there was no trace of it, but there was a little bit of evidence of where it could have been. Going by the map diagram again, I'll put a diagram on the screen now. Well, I was right opposite that lake, and that's exactly where those warning signs were, sort of saying keep off this structure because it's unsafe. And so that made sense, that's where it would have been. So that was one of them. And the second one was my mistake actually, fess up time. Different sources tend to name the boxes differently. Some of them tell you the exact village they're at, others name them by the closest big town. and there was one box where, depending on which source you read, there was a bit of confusion, and I just misinterpreted it as being another box where there wasn't one there. That was a duplication. So there are in fact 24 remaining. That's what the experts think, and me having ridden around them, that's what I now believe. And I only got to 23 of them because on, was it Thursday, when the day when I had the long day, I visited 11, it should have been 12. I just couldn't get to the Little London boxes. I saw the one which has been cleared from all the vegetation, and the other one should have been right opposite, and they should have been joined by a trench. And according to one of the locals, it's behind some hedges in some private ground, and I just not trespassing. So I got to the location, but I never actually located the box. So officially there's 24, I got to 23. I'm now back in Bath doing some retrospective research, and I've managed to locate this part on Google Maps, and doing a street view I can actually see the pillbox I did locate, the one on the right hand side on that sharp left hand corner heading uphill, actually looks semicircular, and I did say when I filmed inside it actually looks like a straight wall. I just didn't notice it from outside, but inside I think it suggests that's a semicircular box. Whether it was originally circle and half of it's been demolished, I just simply don't know. This is a Google overview of the location anyway. I've also gone back to the pillbox trail leaflet from the Norfolk County Council, and if you zoom in on the boxes, you can actually see by the photographs which one I discovered and which one I didn't. I can clearly see that was the one I found, number 2. And I can now feed both of those grid references into a grid reference finder. And here is that grid reference finder. The lower of the 2 red markers is slightly off position, it's in the middle of the road, but it was actually on the right hand side of that left hand bend. That was the box that I found. I hope this final slide tells the story. You can see it's not 100% accurate, but it's a fairly good gauge of how to find the pillboxes. The blue one indicates the one on the right hand side I found, the left one above that I didn't. And the other thing is, in my previous video I said I hope to recount a story each night that I came across when I was doing the research, which actually fascinated me and I thought were well worth sharing. Well, I filmed a couple of those, but now I've played them back, I can tell they're unusable basically because of the wind noise. So, but there is one particular one I want to share with you, and that story is, it's probably one of the most iconic photographs of the 20th century. It's the boys selling the newspapers about the Titanic disaster. The young man in that photograph was Edward Parfitt, known to his family and friends as Ned. Edward had been injured working on a construction site in London and then got that job selling newspapers. He was 16 years old when this famous image of him was taken in 1912. 2 years later, the First World War broke out. In 1916, Edward enlisted. He wasn't conscripted, and he joined the Royal Artillery and served on the Western Front in France. His commanding officer called Edward, and I quote, one of the most trustworthy soldiers in his unit. Edward went on to be awarded the Military Medal. In March 1918, at Arras, an enemy gas attack broke communications on the section of front his squadron was serving on. Other squadrons could not see what was happening, but Edward's section could, and so laid down suppressing gunfire. This action delayed the German advance until communications were restored and probably saved many lives. Field Marshal Douglas Haig, when informed about these events, wrote a letter to their regiment praising Edward's section, saying, and I quote, that their good work and devotion to duty has won them an incredible honour. On October the 29th, 1918, Edward was due to go on leave, but before he left, his quartermaster sent him to collect some clothes from a local building. While Edward was in that building, it was hit by an artillery shell and exploded. Edward was killed just 2 weeks before the war ended. He was just 22 years old when he died. I actually found that story quite moving when I read it actually, and it sort of, really made me think quite long and hard, and also during the research I've been citing all the references. I've tried to sort of link them all either in with those boxes up in the top right hand corner or in the description below the video. But another piece of information I came across, it's from the Imperial War Museum, and it was, we all think of the Great War of 1914 to 1918. Well, that's when the big powers stopped fighting. Well, some of the empires had just basically disintegrated, no longer existed. But not everybody stopped fighting. One of the historians at the Imperial War Museum has made this video suggesting that the real fighting didn't really cease until about 1923, and the figures are just quite horrific. I can't even bring myself to repeat them, to be honest. And again, I'll put a link to that up in the top right hand corner now, but I would sort of suggest watching that because it made me reappraise what I thought I believed actually. So with that in mind, I'm going to finish off now. Hope you've enjoyed watching this, found it interesting, and I got a tax rebate a few weeks back and I invested it in a new bivvy bag. But hopefully my next video will be testing out that bivvy bag on a little midweek mini adventure down in Dorset. I'll see you then.